start playing.
And the reason is you. Yep.
Oh, that's great.
Welcome once again to Chill Filter, the podcast where we drink whiskey so you don't have to, but you probably should. You probably are. And that's, frankly, why we like you. On this week's episode, it's a long-awaited, executive decision-based podcast about what? Well, if you read the description, you know. Otherwise, you'll find out a little bit later. In the meantime, hit us up on Instagram. We'd love to chit-chat with you. Also, we've yet to receive any drawings from any children, bean or whiskey or chill filtered related. So if you want to support the show, send the boys a picture.
Send the boys a picture.
It'll show up on the boys' bean cam.
Seriously, you'll be famous.
Yeah. So anyway, also hit us up on patreon.com/chillfiltered if you'd like to support us monetarily. Other than that, and you know what is good? Know what? It's a great thing to hit up on Patreon because see next week, right?
Actually, by the time this episode's out, we will have already done.
We just did our first drink along.
Did our
this was our August drink
last
along
month.
And in probably 2 to 3 weeks, we'll be doing our next drink along. So if you hit the $10 tier, you get in on those.
And then we'll be couriering out a new batch of 3, which I'm really excited about coming up. So,
and if you go in for $10, you'll be saying batch of 3, send it to me.
Yeah, batch of 3. Why not me?
And Cole say, "A-okay, it's on the way."
Yep, and I'll be say, "Courier barely knew her."
Dang, killed her.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the business. Here's the podcast. Cole, my dear friend, how are you doing, bud?
You know, I was thinking right before we got into the audio or whatever we're calling it, the talking
podcast.
Podcast. What do you call this thing? No, I don't even know where I was going there. But right before we recorded, I was just thinking, it's super sweet to be hosting a whiskey podcast, co-hosting, of course. Because
we all know the truth. You're pretty much hosting. That's fine.
No. Because I pick up my Amrut Fusion from the shelf, the sample that we got from Ben Klepsig, which we'll give a proper shout out later.
Because he's
a pre-shout out, a little foreshadowing or shout out. It's a funny story actually. Before I get into that, you know how like in ping pong, there is.
I prefer to call it pong ping, but I got
you. Well, you never know these days. There's like you could do top spin and what do you call it when you go on backspin? Yeah. But I one time was playing with some friends and I was like, what do they call it? I know backspin. I know that. But you know how there's like
the forward spin?
Yes. And I would just call it, I was like forespin. And the guy's like, really? Like, and I'm like, it doesn't sound right, does it? And yeah, there was a lot of forespin that I was putting on my
on your ball.
Anyway. Yep. So try not to picture that.
Cole had a lot of forespin on his balls.
A lot of forespin. But anyway, so I'm picking up this bottle of sample bottle of Amrut Fusion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, I am a lucky man.
Mm-hmm.
That probably most at this point of the whiskey I drink every week with you, I didn't even buy.
Seriously, we rarely do cork pops.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That used to be a staple of the show early on because it was we
have to like remember to do it when we do own the bottle.
Yeah, it's like you guys had to buy your own bottles. Now we just got people who are like, dude,
and we're down. And that's one of the things I wanted to shout out and give some big shout outs to the big offenders like Ben, like Caleb, and I'm gonna forget one or two people. I mean, like people like Nathan Anthony have said, Sean Ciaro, Nathan Anthony, Jason Preston sent at least some bottles.
Bryce Marita's been there.
Bryce Marita's done it. And even Mike Cook has done it.
That's right.
And we're just super grateful. And if I forgot you, I'm super sorry.
We're super grateful, but also super sorry.
Super sorry, yeah. But like, You guys are the best, and I speak to you guys.
Who sent us the blue run?
Andrew. That was Will Barrett, but then I almost forgot Andrew Loudon Clear.
There we go. Okay,
Andrew and Melissa Loudon, and they sent us stuff, and it's just like we just
need to make a list, because honestly, like I really hope we didn't miss anybody. I guarantee we probably missed at least one or two people. Yeah. But thank you guys. No, it's really cool. And I think so, like today I had a student who was talking a lot. And it was at lunchtime. I'm like, shut up. And I was like, hey buddy, why don't you calm down? And of course that didn't work, because no one ever listens to their teacher. And I was like, hey, why don't you go ahead and put some food in your mouth, start eating so that mouth stays shut and I don't have to hear you talking. And that might be what our Patreon listeners are doing. They're just trying to get whiskey in our mouth so we shut up.
So we talk less.
That's
exactly what happens.
Drink more.
They listen so that we could talk less.
Yes. It's some sort of sadistic game. We're like, you guys shut up.
Yeah,
it'd be great.
Other listeners out there, every listener out there, hey, if you want us to try this random bottle you've got that you're really excited about, we'll give you a hardcore shout out. We'll give you a ting or two, if you know what I'm saying. Baller. Wait, come on.
Oh, weak. Oh, better.
And like we said, we're not I don't know, we're blessed. We don't see it as hey, I'm drinking all this. Like I do sometimes. I mean, honest, I love drinking whiskey. But like we just feel every time we open one of these sample bottles, or even for those who have sent us full bottles, we are just stoked.
On top of that too, we have, and I don't know, we have a listenership that when they find bottles that they know we would probably like, will reach out and be like, hey, do you want me to courier this to you? And I feel like at some point we got to like broaden those horizons of ways to connect our listeners so that they can kind of be like, this is what I'm looking for. If you see, courier to me. And a thank you to thee. Send them in batches of 3. Guarthos
Coley D.
Anyway,
but
how you doing? What have you been up to in the last 2 days since
it's been
it's a short turnaround.
Yeah, we yesterday I was able to get the Virginia lottery, or not the Virginia lottery, the Virginia like allocated drops. Yesterday I got 3 bottles. One my wife picked up, and 2 I got at 2 different shops or stores.
What'd you get?
I got a Bland's, it's like keep it in the back pocket.
What's the dump date?
It was a 5/11, I want to say, which I had no connection to.
Yeah.
But then
5/11/22.
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
And then I had a Eagle Rare. You can't say no, you just gotta pick it up.
You can't,
especially retail. It was like 36 plus tax. So I was like, can't say no. Yeah. And then I got a Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit barrel pick.
Ooh, nice.
So I'm excited about that one. We might bring that on the podcast.
I sent you a Kentucky Spirit.
I think you did, but didn't you like finish your bottle or something like that?
No, I think I have the Kentucky Spirit.
Okay, then we'll do that one soon then. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I got Kentucky Spirit.
That's dope. Yeah, I haven't sipped it.
Yeah, ever since like we've relaxed a little bit on like, we started going hang out with people again. I'll bring bottles and be like, we can't finish it, guys. But then I forget the bottle.
That's funny.
And I'll tell you one thing. Hey, sign up on patreon.com because we need a makeup artist, man. This man is glistening.
Woo. Hey, you've had a long day.
Oh, greasy and shiny. A long day of work. Here. So,
what's the temperature out there these days? Because it is hot here still.
We're like right around 100. A little higher,
really?
A little lower. Yeah.
That's more than I would expect for Boise.
We had our hottest August on record, which I didn't really know. Chelsea said that, and I was like, I didn't really think that, because like our July was it was like low 90s, which is lower than usual. But yeah, it's really hot.
I don't remember Boise being that hot, but luckily it's not that humid out there.
No, and my wife's cousin Kelsey is visiting from Washington D.C. right now. Like, we went out last night. And we're like, it's pretty warm. She's like, yeah, but it has nothing on DC's humidity. I'm like, I don't do it. Won't do the humidity.
I hate it these days. Like, I'm just counting down the days until we get into the 80s again. Or at least the low 80s.
I'm ready, man. I'm ready for fall weather. Like so this weekend we did, like, we were in like high of like 85 on Saturday and Sunday. So then like our mornings were like 55, and I opened the house up and like threw some sweats on, cuddled under the blankets for a little bit with the girls, kind of a thing. I'm ready for that again. I love coming home from work and throwing sweats on.
I'm ready coming home from work and putting my jeans on. And I'll tell you what, jeans are easier in Phoenix than they are here. Like I could be a trench of swampy goodness out there. Here it is like, why? Like I have to like change my jeans every few days. And normally they say you can keep your jeans for a week or two before washing them. And I do that. I'll be honest. I follow the science. But anyway, but not here because like they get so sweated out by like even just walking outside that it's terrible. I just cannot understand why people would want
all
to
summer
live
long,
in like places like Florida.
Yeah, all summer long I wear, shorts. And then like I had to go back to work and I put on a pair of pants and I stepped outside. It was 7 degrees. I'm like, how do people wear pants?
Shorts, man.
Can't do it.
That's fine. But yeah, life's been good. Just chugging along. I feel like work's been going really well, which I dig. I always love feeling productive at work. So, and then soon we'll hear about so there's apparently like fall raises. And I'm just excited. I feel like I've been doing really well. I asked my boss a few times throughout my tenure at this company. I'm like, how am I doing? He's like, you're doing great.
That's a good question. Cole asked the best questions.
Yeah, I do ask very good questions at work. So I'm kind of excited about that. We'll probably hear in the next few weeks. Of course, I'm not going to mention it on the podcast, but you'll hear my excitement if there is. You'll hear my disappointment if there's a negative raise. So.
Oh, boy.
They'll be like, we're taking money from you, Cole.
You're not doing that great.
Yeah. All those questions I asked, they were just too bad. They were just bad questions.
All Cole says now is, who?
Yeah.
Huh? Where?
Yeah.
What? Why? How?
Too broad, Cole. Why don't you hone in on what you're asking? So
too broad, Cole. That reminds me of your 90s raps albums that got explicit content ratings.
The album title, Too Broad, Cole.
You're Too Blind, Cole.
Oh, Too Blind.
It's like Two Live Crew. Too Blind, Cole.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
I know. Yeah, I don't know if it's
I'm sure someone caught that. Maybe Bryce Morita.
Maybe John Oliver Voldemort Hughes.
Yeah.
My favorite was when he messaged us a couple of weeks ago. And he was like, messages like, Goldie Hawn. And then he goes, crap, I listened for one more minute. You guys eventually got
it. Knew it rhymed with fawn. But anyway, how are you doing?
Man, good. Had a pretty good weekend. Like I said, I got a little extra cuddle time with the kiddos. And then
that's always good, man.
Well,
dude,
and then
there's something about just your kid appreciating you back.
Yeah. And what's been interesting too, Mara is, she's a preteen. She's 12. But like just this weekend, she's like, Dad, can you maybe just come up and give me a hug and sing me a song before bed? I'm like, yes, absolutely.
You're like, no doubt.
Because that's gonna be few and far between. So I was like, yeah, absolutely. So that's been nice. It's been nice having a little more time with her like that, where she's just wanting she's very much
time to connect.
Yeah. And then Nebraska lost, and that was kind of bleh.
How did that put Wisconsin do?
They play that next weekend. Next weekend is
okay.
And then, but it's pretty sweet. So last night we went out to go see Modest Mouse. We saw Modest Mouse.
Really?
Play.
I've seen them live. They're incredible. They'll just switch up the lineup, and like this person will be like, "I'm going to grab the violin next."
So here's the thing: we weren't actually that close to it.
Oh,
yeah.
I saw them at Red Rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went with Chelsea's cousin, who I don't know if she's a big fan or not, but she was like, yeah, we'll go. And Chelsea is a huge Modest Mouse fan, and I like them a lot.
They're very talented.
But we just put a blanket out at the Botanical Gardens and sat there.
Nice.
Ooh, but get this. So Barbacoa has a sister restaurant now. It's like a Mexican restaurant. And had some delicious tequila and like a Mexican steak and some enchilada beforehand. And I took a nice little nap when we first got there. It was a wonderful evening.
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds great. You just laid out a blanket on the Botanical Gardens and watched Modest Mouse?
Yep. And they
Who opened for them?
Blitz and Trapper.
Never heard of them.
They're a little bit bigger, like 2005. Never really got too big, but we missed that. But between acts we were there for, and I just took a little snooze on the blanket.
Nice.
It was nice. Good time.
I saw them co-headline with Brand New. Probably the last concert I saw of Brand New before they got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know. Anyway, life's been good to me so far.
That's cool. I like that. What day was the concert?
Last night, so
nice.
Monday night. And I was like,
how long's Kelsey in town?
She'll be leaving Sunday morning next week. So
she's always good to have in town. She loves.
But this is coming out on Labor Day. It's Labor Day, folks.
That's true. Happy Labor Day.
Do yourself a favor.
Yeah,
folks.
And do the
labor.
You
don't know. If you don't, I think it's important to respect holidays and honor their traditions. So the best way to do it on Labor Day is look up Teen Titans Go Labor Day episode. Nice. You will learn so much, and you will enjoy the stylings of Beast Boy, Cyborg, Robin.
Is it the one where they do the booty scooty?
No, that's not that one.
That was a good episode.
But they
the only one I've seen.
No, I love that cartoon because it actually like there was one episode where it broke down being a slumlord. Mm-hmm. And I was like, it was like very it was very informative. I'm like, oh wow. That's crazy.
Funny. Yeah. You know who I bet watches Teen Titans Go or whatever? Bryce Morita. He just gives me that vibe.
I don't think he does yet.
Really?
Still kind of little.
Well, no, I bet he does though. He can be an appreciator of good superhero or not animation.
It is animation,
yeah.
It's good. I love this show. It's great. And if you watch the Labor Day episode, you'll actually learn history of Labor Day.
That's cool.
Like, for real. Yeah. It is cool.
Honor tradition, embrace change.
I thought of that the other day. I couldn't remember that. And I thought to text you, what is that again? Because I didn't want to Google on my school computer anything to do with
something that gave results for Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but also a shout out to those. Labor Day has to do with troops and stuff.
No,
it doesn't. What does that have to do with?
It's just the American worker.
I'm an American worker.
Okay, cool.
Celebrate me.
You gotta go watch the Labor Day episode.
Watch the Teen Titans Go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. Well, shout out to all those who are working right now. I mean, not right now because today's a national.
Well, some people still have to work, and they don't get.
Some people still have to work. Shout out to all those who are listening to us the day after Labor Day because they listen to us on the way to work. Shout out to you guys. So
that's a good point.
Yeah, we might get a dip in listens next Monday. So yeah, but anything else going on?
No, man, I'm good. I think we have not said much of any substance, but it feels
there's plenty of substance.
And we're at the timestamp. I'm not. I say, is it time for a walk? Should we walk?
I'm down for a walk. We'll go for a quick walk. We'll be right back. And we'll talk about Amrut Fusion. Here we go to break, walk, break, walk, break. And we're back. What a nice walk.
Oh my gosh.
What a nice pesto stick.
Yeah. It's delicious.
Yeah. So huge shout out, first of all, to Ben Klepsig. A baller ding. A double ding for Ben Klepsig for being quite the baller.
When I skateboarded, I used to get a lot of baller dings. None that fun.
Yeah. No, but they're fun here. And Ben Klepsig at Madtown Marketer. Thanks for providing the samples we're drinking today.
Absolutely.
I have a feeling that at the moment that Ben is listening to this, he's warming up a little bit that he's got left of his bottle of Amrut Fusion. What a baller! So he's about to drink it with us,
Yeah. No.
You
got there.
To drink this. Yeah, I got
circuitous, but you got there. I got you.
Well, yeah, people got used to it by now.
I know.
They can't. What's the word they used? Meandering.
Mm-hmm.
Suck it up. So anyway.
Like you said a few episodes ago, you're listening. You know what you signed up for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So did I say that? Because I love that.
Yeah, you did.
Nice.
I was poor ussing, and you're like, they knew what they signed up for. And it stuck with me. I'm like, it's a good point.
Yeah.
So this is
what's that?
No one forced them to be here, unless it's Heather or Chelsea. Like I got to force my.
And they don't listen.
They don't. Yeah, if they're listening, they got forced.
Exactly. And the funny thing is like We are the type of podcast that I don't expect my friends to listen to. If they do, I'm stoked. Like, I'm just like, oh, sweet. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
But I don't get my hopes up for like sharing my podcast or sharing, the podcast that I'm like, hey, I do a podcast. And then they're like, cool. And I'm like, don't expect them to listen. So anyway,
I have very few friends, like immediate friends that I talk to on a daily basis who listen. I have like
totally
periphery friends that I've known from different aspects of life that'll listen here and there. But
yeah, which shout out to Miles Ferguson, who has been a friend longer than a listener. So,
and shout out to Miles Ferguson, who I've only ever known because of the podcast.
True,
like a good friend, and to his wife Patricia.
I might see him this weekend.
Yeah,
he moved. So he was in Richmond for a while, but he just moved to North Carolina.
Oh,
I won't give the exact address where he moved because I want to dox him. But he might be coming up this weekend, so I might be hanging out with him. So shout out to that baller. Give me a second.
So the other thing I realized, my cousin Kelsey lives in Arlington, which is Virginia.
Yeah,
and
you probably visit her, but not me.
Well, when we were going to visit you in Mexico, it became a better deal.
It became a much better deal.
That's what we'll do at some point. We'll visit you, then we'll go up
there. My name's Robbie. I'd rather get COVID in Mexico than see Cole.
It was a good time.
I believe it.
Best COVID I ever got.
I know, right? Why not get COVID while you're enjoying? Yeah, anyway. So this is our first Amrut product on the podcast, but it's certainly not our first Indian whiskey on the show. Episode 194, which is like about 24 episodes ago, about a half year ago. We drank Paul John peated cask at 55.5% alcohol by volume, which we thought was quite the hubbub of what at the time.
It was a hubbub of what.
That was a 6 to 8 year peated single malt from Goa, India. And what we're drinking today isn't too different altogether, but it does have some notable differences. Let's talk about the distillery and just a little bit about Indian whiskey. So Paul John Distillery is in Goa, a state along the southwestern coast of India, but Amrut is in Bangalore, which is southeast of Goa. It's kind of like the south central India, if you ask me. It might look like it might be like if you were in India, you'd be like, well, why don't I make a few distillery visits while I'm there? But even though it doesn't seem that far from Goa to Bangalore, it's like a minimum 10-hour drive. I looked that up.
It's only like it's less than 5 inches.
Yeah, exactly. On certain maps, it's like super small.
It's even less than 5 centimeters on others.
Yeah, and if you zoom out, it's like really small. So I don't get how that
right
works.
Next to each other.
Yeah. And that's something something to actually comment is that India is pretty big. It's barely the second most populated country in the world. It's expected to be the first most populated country in the world next year. But there is China 1.417 billion people and only about 10 million less than China. That's a lot of people and not a lot of whiskey distilleries, as opposed to Scotland, which has 0.38% population of India. That's like 1/3 of 1% of the population of India. And Scotland has over 130 distilleries. Meanwhile, India has about less than 10 easily. So anyway, whiskey was definitely appreciated in India for a long time, at least since the 1800s.
Oh boy.
That was because Scotch was being imported to India, not because India was making their own. But when India started making whiskey in the 1900s, it really wasn't whiskey. It was basically a mixture of molasses-based spirit and neutral grain spirit mixed. An attempt at like brown hard liquor. And they called it whiskey.
It's liquor.
Yeah.
It's whiskey.
Yeah. That's whiskey, baby. That's what they said. They called it whiskey, but the rest of the world didn't. And,
what?
Because as we know, if you don't know, now you know. Whiskey's main rule, like the biggest rule of whiskey, is that it needs to be grain based. If you call something whiskey and it's not 100% grain based, it really won't fly for the most part. But to defend India, grain is very valuable and in high demand.
Hashtag defend
a lot. Hashtag what?
Hashtag defendia.
Defendia.
If you defend India.
Yeah. And a lot of Indian people do not have the money to even eat grain, let alone distill it. So that's what made it pretty hard in India to get this going and become a thing to have like single malt whiskey. Anyway, Amrut Distillery changed that in 1982. They started acquiring barley from farms in Haryana, Punjab, and Rajasthan. I hope I got those right. If we have any Indian listeners, you can feel free to correct us on Instagram. And they began aging single malt whiskey, but they didn't bottle it that way. They didn't bottle it that way. There was a huge market for single malt whiskey, and their juice was better. There wasn't a huge market. Sorry, there wasn't a huge market for single malt whiskey, and what their juice was better used basically for at the time mixing molasses spirit and that spirit, like the single malt whiskey.
Smell our molasses.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Explicit rating. Although I don't think that makes explicit rating.
I smell molasses cookies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So basically, like they used to use neutral grain spirits and molasses-based spirit, but now they were using single malt mixed with molasses-based spirit. And they called it Prestige Blended Malt Whiskey.
Prestige Worldwide.
Which wouldn't really fly in other countries, but it sold at the time. But here's where the big shift happened. Two things. They noticed that aging in India was much more aggressive on the whiskey flavor than aging in somewhere like Scotland. And they could take advantage of that. Secondly, they wanted to expand their market to places like Europe. And a malt spirit blended with molasses spirit wouldn't get by in Europe because they knew what true single malt whiskey was in Europe. So they introduced Amrut single malt whiskey to Europe in 2004. Since then, Amrut has only grown in notoriety since. Jim Murray has even given Amrut some praise in years past. For example, in 2010, the Whiskey Bible rated Fusion, what we're drinking today, 97.5 out of 100, which is insane.
That's very high.
Very high score. Like 96 is like insane. 97.5 is like one of the highest scores he'll give.
I can't wait to get in this membrane
because he got canceled.
Is he uncanceled?
I think he stopped making his Whiskey Bible. I haven't seen it.
Really?
Yeah, it kind of stinks. Give the guy a second chance.
As long as he's earnestly like, I'll be a better person.
Mm-hmm. I'll stop relating whiskey to sex. So
hashtag sexky.
Sesky. I like that. It was the second risky. That year in 2010, it was the second runner-up to the World Whiskey of the Year.
Okay.
So let's talk about what we're drinking today. That Amrut Fusion. Amrut is a blend of two single malts, which, in case you're wondering, still qualifies as a single malt by the general standard. In this case, where if you blend single malts from the same distillery, it's still qualified as a single malt, at least in like Scotch terms. 25% of the blend is a peated single malt and 75% unpeated. The barley used in the peated malt is malted and, of course, then peated in Scotland. But according to them, it is all Indian-grown barley. So they take the Indian-grown barley, ship it to Scotland, get it malted and peated, and then they ship it back to India, which I thought was pretty interesting. And then when combining after aging for about 4.5 years, which is a lot for the Indian climate, it is blended to be aged. They blend together and then they're aged an additional 6 to 9 months in ex-bourbon barrels before cutting to 100 proof. They do age in barrels used from Heaven Hill Buffalo Trace, and Jack Daniels. But they have been known to use new charred oak as well that hasn't been used by those distilleries. I've had this before, but it's been years. It's been probably since about 2015, 2016. But there was a dominant note I got, which wasn't a bad note at all. And I won't talk about it yet, but we'll see if it shows up when we drink it. But I will say I do remember enjoying this. Total wine price, $85. Let's sip. Cheers to Ben Klepzig.
Thank you, Ben. All right, Cole.
Yeah.
Jim Murray is uncanceled. He's got a 2022 Bible.
Oh, good for him. I kind of hope someone will give him another chance. So I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Do you hear my baby crying in the back?
No. Did you hear my kids come home from school?
No, but I saw you move away from the
I did.
camera.
I had to blow some kisses because I missed them.
You gotta
blow the kisses.
Give the baby a kiss.
You gotta see the baby.
Yeah, that's right. Another Seinfeld reference.
Ooh.
So, I'm not getting a lot of peat, but I am getting really good Highland Scotchy notes. And so one thing I didn't mention in the we mentioned it in the Paul John episode, but they basically say that Indian whiskey with the climate in India, like Bangalore is like 3,000 plus feet above sea level, but also it's very hot down in India. So they say it's usually speeds the aging 3 times what we'd expect from a place like Scotland. So they were like, we don't want to overage it. So we're going to put it anywhere between 4 and 8 years typically to get a really good product.
So it is a slightly peaty smoky, but so I think pearish, appley sweetness is there.
A little bit of floral to me.
And I don't even know if this is correct or not, but I just thought of charcoal briquettes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've
felt that before, especially for Highland Scotch.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can get a charcoaly flavor from it, which makes sense because 75% of this blend was likely charcoal malted, or at least some form of not peat malted. I don't know. Or drying the malt process at least. So another note I'm getting I definitely get the pear. I definitely get the apple. I definitely get very, very strong Highland Scotch notes. But I also get a little bit of floral notes, which I would get from something like Macallan. It is not holding back. It is not young smelling, especially for a Scotch, or it's not a
There's
Scotch,
an
but it's
oakiness to it
especially
for
for a
sure.
single malt. Yeah.
First sip, Subadawat, because I think I was hoping for the Hubadawat. Now, that being said, it is strong. There's a lot of it's not so last week with the Four Roses 40 year, it's just it fell flat. There's a lot of exuberance in some of the mouth tastes. So I'm gonna go for another sip here to kind of see if I can narrow it down a little bit.
So one of the things I remember from before was just it is showing up. This is what I was mentioning earlier. Is that this is spicy.
Mm-hmm.
This is hot and spicy in a way. It's got that peat a little bit, which is the smoky, but it's also got this spice. It's a strong, potent single malt. I don't even know what to compare it to. There's something to it that is just as if there's almost some cayenne pepper slightly in there or something like that.
Oh, you think so? I'm getting very peppery. Second sip better than the first, for sure. First one I got a little bit of bitterness towards the end, but I'm not getting that now. So I think it wasn't quite warmed up enough. I didn't have a entry buzz. So maybe my bad. Sorry about that.
Prime that pump.
But yeah, I get a good amount of smokiness to it, but it's not, like I said, it's more charcoaly, I guess, than it is smoky, peaty kind of a thing. Yeah. Not super sweet. The nose,
I get some sweet, to be honest.
On the nose, I was getting a lot of sweetness. This is to me, but it is spicy, peppery, and then oaky and peppery oaky. What was my other thing? Oh, and charcoaly, kind of smoky to it. So I'm gonna go for another sip here because this is I will say this. I think when you say Jim Murray 97, blah blah blah, blah the bar was raised to impress as on a hubba to what level.
Yeah.
But this is not bad.
Yeah.
I think I lowered, you know what I mean? I expected too much, maybe.
Yeah, it might have been a setup that way.
I've been looking forward to drinking this for 6 months since we did the John Paul or Paul John.
Yeah.
So,
I am getting notes. This is it so there's the alcohol burn, which isn't strong. Like if you asked me, it's not like blowing, up my mouth or anything like that. But there is like a smolder of flavor here. And that goes along with that spicy I'm talking about. And I don't know how to fully describe it, but there are notes of, even just that single malt, like Highland malt, but it is smoldering. I don't know how else to describe it, but
I think you hit on it earlier when you said kind of like a cayenne. I can see it now. I'm kind of getting that where it's not an alcohol burn, but it's like, cayenne's not a very spicy pepper, so it's like you can add a ton to your chili, and you're just kind of like, oh yeah, there it is. That's that. I think that's kind of what you're getting is that just spiciness to it. So
I'm gonna just drop some water, see if that.
Oh, did we just get a new Patreon listener? I heard a ding.
I know, right? No, I just tinked my. I'll tell you this. There's always reason.
Oh, I tinked mine too.
Baller ting. Our Patreon supporters and listeners already, so our ballers.
I gotta say, sorry, folks. Whoa.
Sorry, I thought I dropped a bottle that was open, but it was closed, so that's the best. Goo.
Would you fall in love with it? Goo. Man, I will say I feel like we're doing a lot of humble bragging today. And it's not necessarily humble bragging, but it's bragging. But it's just grateful for y'all.
Yeah, we're grateful for you. Yeah, we're just gushing. That's what I would call it.
Gushing and gooing. Gooing and gushing.
Got a lot hotter on the nose to me.
You think so?
Yeah, the alcohol vapors took over.
A lot sweeter. And honestly, I'm not getting the smokiness that the charcoal I got earlier. To me now it smells more like a bourbon. It's just that more appley. It's really sweet on the nose. Nose is great.
The palate got sweeter, better actually. I would actually prefer the palate with a little bit of water than I do. I'm gonna say this is pretty close to hubba to what. Especially with the water pour. This really brought it out. And 100 proof single malt is pretty awesome. You don't always get that. Even in Scotland, it's hard to break 100 proof.
Water is hubba to what. I'm on the hubba to what train now. If we get to a big enough point, if anyone knows Hoobastank, I would kind of every time we had a hubba to what, we have Hoobastank be like, what was their song? What was Hoobastank's song?
There's a few.
What was
the reason?
The reason.
And then there's
the reason
crawling.
I'll be like, okay.
I've been crawling in the dark.
No. Looking for the answer. No, the reason.
Yeah.
And I'll be
the reason is
so it's if we could just put Hoobastank for the Hooba to what on retainer.
Hooba to what?
And every time we're like, oh my gosh, this is hubba to what? They'll be like,
we'll just start playing.
And
the reason is you.
Yep.
That's great.
So this is definitely water is so much better. So it's got a nice. I think it changed the mouthfeel for sure.
Yeah.
Super much more viscous.
Yeah.
And then it's really sweet on the front, and then it just slow fades out like the end of Crawling in the Dark.
Yeah.
And then it just goes straight into that savory smokiness. Water is
great with
so far.
Drops,
is where it's
guys.
at.
Listen,
so far where it's at.
Try it out.
We should be master distillers.
Yeah.
We just discovered a little bit of water made it better.
I was looking up something with Jim Rutledge because we were talking about him last week for Four Roses, and he kind of has a complaint against a lot of the smaller distilleries where he's like, you can do whatever you want, but it used to be that master distiller title was earned but now it's just kind of a marketing term, which isn't bad. I mean, some people have kind of earned it, but we can be master distillers, sure.
Yeah, we get that honorary.
Yeah,
it's gonna be like I got an honorary.
It's like one of those honorary degrees where you're like, I didn't go to that school, but I now have a.
But I did give the commencement speech.
Exactly. Dude, I would love an honorary master distiller title. So one of the things I'm trying to do, and I haven't really gotten to this yet, is you know how in Kentucky you can be called a colonel?
Yes.
But in Kentucky, you need that. Actually, the only person that can give you that title is the governor of Kentucky.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm going to try to reach out to the governor of Kentucky about bourbon charity and try to get Brandon Hunt, the guy who started Bourbon Charity, to be a Kentucky colonel. And I was like, I should do that. And then I'm like, while you're at it, make all the people that volunteer with Bourbon Charity colonels, and then I'll get my dream of being called a Kentucky colonel, which would be amazing. That was a lot of spit.
Fire in the hole. I just came up with a new technique where you put the whole cube in your mouth, give it one good crunch, you search for the best size for the amount you poured.
Hey.
Which, on the flip
then
side,
created the rest out.
Created a lot of melted ice, which turns into water.
It does.
And then when you're anticipating the next sip of a delicious whiskey, also mixes with your salivations.
Salvatore?
Saliva. Jeez, Louise and cottage cheese.
Sweeter on the nose, but like kind of potentially watered down on the nose a little bit.
Huh. Weird. It's colder when I inhale them. It like makes my nostrils a little bit
makes your nostrils cold.
I need nostril jackets. Where you just no, honestly, that's a thing.
Nostril right? Jackets?
Our Canadian friends market that because I know when I lived in Spokane,
Will
you go outside, you'd be cold enough where you go outside and you could feel your nostril hairs.
100%.
You put your nostril jacket on.
That was one of my things when I lived in Wisconsin and a few other places. Is I would know when in Colorado, that's what it was. I would know when we were about 5 degrees Fahrenheit when you could just feel my nostril hairs freeze. That's like around 5 degrees.
You know, I also would feel your nostril hairs freeze.
Feel them, man. Have you sipped this yet? Go ahead.
I did. I will say there is a bitterness towards the end. It gets a little bitter on the end.
I don't think I enjoy it more than the water pour.
Until that bitterness hit, though, it was just super like, I'm pleasing, I'm happy, it's wonderful, and I'm bare. Screw you. Like, it was really just a nice amount of smokiness, great mouthfeel, little less sweet for sure, a lot less sweet for sure. And then all of a sudden it got better on me. So
I don't. This is my least favorite pour. I think it is a little too floral. Okay. It reminds me of over floraled Highland Scotches. I'm surprised this isn't as smoky as I remember it being, but at least on the neat pour, it is as spicy as I remember.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like the spice did fall out some with the water. Yeah, ice is definitely the worst pour of the three.
Yeah.
You got a rating in mind?
It's one of those things where I gotta pour a little more neat so that I can get that bad taste, that bad finish out of my mouth. Rating in mind, I think I got it. If you're ready. Ooh, drink it straight from the sample bottle.
Did you hear that?
No. Ooh.
Did you hear that?
Let me try that.
That might be the new thing, Cole.
How about this? You just let it hang from your upper lip.
Yeah, I got you. Oh.
For those YouTube viewers.
I feel like
a walrus.
I feel like Kirby Puckett.
You know, I don't know too much about Kirby Puckett.
Well, if you like baseball, you know about Kirby Puckett.
Did he have a big upper lip?
Video. Nope. He had one dangly thing like I got going on right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it concerning?
Anyway,
I knew a guy named Tommy Puckett in high school. Shout out to Tommy Puckett.
Do you call him T-Puck?
No, he was just Tommy.
What a waste of a great nickname.
Seriously. I'm going to give this an 8.8. No, I'm going to give this an 8.95. I'm going to change it because it is pretty much hubba what, especially on the water pour.
Okay.
Great pour with this whiskey, and surprisingly too. I didn't expect it to be even better with the water added. So I think it is surprisingly, like I said, it is spicy, it is hot, but it is also a decent single malt, especially for like a 5-year-old ish. It's really good. So 4.95. I mean, what did I say? 4.95, 9 or 8.95. Did I say 4?
The last time you did.
Okay, so 8.95.
Took me a second to catch it. You caught it before I did. After I computated. Okay. I originally was going to go 8.8, but I think I'm going to go a little bit lower. I'm going to go 8.6.
Okay.
I want this to be a 9. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I want it to be a 9 so badly just because I've been looking forward to it so much. I listened to my good friend Cole talk about all this history and this stuff about it. Yeah. And I'm like, this should be that point. And I hope, but like, it just doesn't, it is good. It is good. I like it a lot. Water pour is by far the best, but I don't know if I'm skewed because I was looking into it too much along the way. It was disappointed because of where I set my own personal bar. So
you never know.
The wind chill factor when it comes to weather. I don't know how that works.
All I know is like this.
It feels, yeah. So we've got the whiskey chill filtered factor going on right now.
Whiskey chill filter factor, yeah.
Yes.
Wind chill filtered factor.
Okay, we'll call it the wind chill filtered factor. Where I expected it to be better, but I was underwhelmed because it felt different after I listened to Cole's stuff. So, what did I say, 8.4? Is that what I said?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Ben, as you're drinking it right now, what do you rate this at? So, or anyone else that's drinking this with us? Yeah.
Yeah. Message us. Instagram.
Yeah.
That's where we get back to.
We love you guys.
All right, man. Cool beans.
So now that we're done our ratings, why don't we send it to another segment of the show that we like to call Whiskey World News. And
we're back. It's time for Whiskey World News. Part of the show where we read something and we talk about it. We didn't write it. We're going to read it.
Oh, we're going to read it.
But sure didn't write it. This comes from Maker's
An
Mark. An email from Maker's Mark. And it starts, Dear Cole.
Dear Cole.
Comma.
Personal. So personal.
For nearly 7 decades, Maker's Mark has stayed true to the vision of our founders, Bill and Margie Samuels, to be innovators of the craft and to make a bourbon whiskey that people want to enjoy drinking and sharing with friends. We've been incredibly fortunate over the years to have key individuals join our Maker's Mark family who have been tremendous custodians of this legacy. People like Denny Potter, General Manager and Distiller, and Jane Bowie, Head of Innovation and Blending. Just like our founders, Denny and Jane have also entrepreneurial itch and have expressed a desire to blaze their own trails in the bourbon industry with a new venture. While Denny and Jane will depart with our utmost thanks on September 2nd, they will always be members of the Maker's Mark family. I simply can't thank Denny and Jane enough for the tremendous impact they have had on Maker's Mark around the world. I will be announcing their successors in due course. And in the meantime, we will continue to create the highest quality bourbon and pursue an exciting future for this great brand. Cole, you all right? Yep. Best regards, Rob Samuels, grandson of the founders, managing director, Maker's Mark Distillery Incorporated. Cole, any thoughts there, buddy?
I do have thoughts.
He's got thoughts.
So yeah, the Denny and Jane, right? Jane?
I believe Jane.
Yeah, they have, they've been with Maker's Mark and, even master distiller and head of whatever blending or whatever. I think this is kind of a trend I'm seeing lately in the whiskey world is that, especially when you've been master distiller of these, titans of the whiskey
industry.
or the bourbon world. What's that?
Titans of the industry.
Yeah, titans of the industry. You're starting your own, and I to an extent I respect that. But to an extent, that's kind of scary when you think about it. It's like, oh man, they're starting their own, and what if it doesn't work out? And what if what they're doing? Like you look at Jackie Zykan of Old Forester, you look at Jim Rutledge of Four Roses. These big deal distillery people starting their own, and I think it's kind of scary. But I also respect their moves to like really start something on their own that they're making themselves. So I'm just curious what they're up to. But Maker's Market, I believe, is one of the big 13. Yeah, because they're distilling their own. And
yes, Cole, I agree with you.
Yeah, totally.
I always do.
But yeah, I'm curious what Denny and Jane are up to. And good for them that, like, honestly, I think the whiskey world for a while was dominated by men. And you look at Denny and I don't know, I'm guessing Denny's a woman, but I might be wrong. It's going to come back later. I think John Hughes will correct me.
I would think Denny is a man.
It might be a man. But Jane
is a
probably
woman.
guess is a woman. And but like Jackie's I can. And even like people like Fawn Weaver, which Fawn, don't get me wrong, she was not the master distiller or anything, but like these women are really stepping up in the whiskey world, which I think is pretty awesome. But also like people like Jackie Zykan and at least Jane are starting their own. And I think that's in a way scary, but I commend them for their courage. And I really hope they do well because, the more like someone that can be a master distiller or the people behind these big whiskeys, if they can start something different but also amazing, I'm down for it. I'm 100% down for it. So that's all. That's the real point I want to say is that if you are a big deal, you've earned your way up, and then you're starting your own, I wish you the best of luck, and I really hope that you can is that Denny? Okay, Denny's a man and a serious looking man. So anyway, Denny, I hope you do well too, even though you're not a woman. But maybe you are a woman. I don't know that. I'm just guessing. So anyway,
she's I don't. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to get caught up in all this.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
These days.
I like Maker's Mark. Good for Denny and Jane.
Yeah.
All I want to know is like I would love to see Denny and Jane move on, and someday like I'm like visiting the Bourbon Trail. Yeah. I go to a small diner, and Jane's like very like emo-y, reclusive 80s version, and then I see Denny there with a couple of forks and some dinner rolls, and just a couple forks and dinner rolls, and he messes it up. I'm like, this is not Benny and June. This is Denny and Jane.
That's exactly what I was going for. I was like, Bonnie and June or Benny and June.
No, I think you're right. I think it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well now your proof's in the pudding. It's like Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Like, all right, who was the reason for the Patriots' success?
Yeah,
was it the Maker's Mark brand or was it the Master Distillers?
It's Johnny Depp.
Proof is in the pudding.
Proof is in the pudding. There you go. Johnny Depp.
All right. Should we move on?
Let's move on to a segment we like to call "What Whiskey Would You Choose?"
Oh yeah, I would say whenever we call it segment, I would say Whiskey World News. Do you have a what whiskey would you choose for us this week?
I'll make one up in the moment.
Okay, I'll meander, and then when you're
I already got it. It's already set in my mind.
You do this because this was that's the signal. Do that. Oh, I got the signal. Here we go. Wait. Time for what whiskey you choose. A part of the show where we talk about whiskey would you choose.
What whiskey would you choose?
All right. So last week's what whiskey would you choose? Oh, geez, come on. I thought I had it all pulled up and ready. We talked about the beautiful terracotta coloring of this whiskey. I have the write-ins. I don't know. Okay, I'll just do this. We'll just go abbreviated version of this. We did what was the best rye you had last week, and I went with Rendezvous Rye from High West. Cole went with Barrel
Seagrass.
Barrel Seagrass.
Specifically the 16-year, but
16. Well, I didn't put that on there. Sorry.
It's all good.
But you still won, and it was like 60% to 40%.
Ayo.
Couple write-ins we had. Bryce Murray said Wiggle Fills? Shadow Maple Cast Finish Straight Rye. Whiskey starred. Phew, that is a mouthful right there, and I had trouble. Brian Rapp, Michter's Barrel Strength. Ooh.
Yeah, good stuff.
Perfect. Miles Ferguson killed a 5118. Wild Turkey 101 Rye. Patricia discovered orange and brown sugar notes, and I am loving them.
Nice.
Hats off to Patricia. My lady.
We always love Patricia.
We do. Marco and AZ. Wait a minute. Did Marco move to Arizona now?
He did.
So it's no longer Marco and Casey. It's Marco and AZ.
Yeah.
Nice. Wilderness Trail or Willet?
Oh, Wilderness Trail Rye is good.
Bro Tascanosa, our Canadian trail friend. Catoctin Creek Red House Rye.
Creek, which is a Virginia rye, actually.
Oh, really?
From Loudoun County.
Well, better get out here loud and clear.
Andrew Loud and Clear, what's your answer?
But not the CS, weirdly. I like the 92 over the 116. The cast strength. Gotcha.
It's been a while since I've had it, but I remember it being very good.
Okay. Hunt that down. Matt Time Marketer Templeton 10-year. And then
which I'm drinking right now, Ben. Cheers. Tink.
And then Connor Gilbert. Connor Gilbert said Mellow corn. Anyway, cool. I love it. This week, what are we doing for what whiskey would you choose?
So we've been on a streak lately of like what's the best thing you had last month. But we've talked about bourbons, we talked about rye. Now let's talk about single malt whiskey. What's the best single malt whiskey you've had in the last month?
Okay. Bulls.
I gotta think about that one.
You gotta think about it. Well, you just came up with it. And you know what? That was not very inventive, Cole. I thought you came like you're just pulling low-hanging fruit left and right here. Which is okay.
But it's been working out. We've been getting great responses.
We have been. And I think that's part of it too. It's not like, what would you choose in this situation? It's like, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
So, gosh, I don't think I've had many single malts. I think I just got to go Lagavulin 16.
Yeah.
That's the only single malt that I've had this month.
I don't know if I've had much this month either.
Is it Lagavulin 16? Is this going to be the worst poll?
I'm just going to pull a move and be like, well, it's been about a month since I've had Dorado from Del Bach, which is a single malt.
Okay. All right. Okay, we'll do that. Dorado.
Yep.
And Del Bach Dorado versus Lagavulin 16. There you go. What are we drinking next week, Cole? We didn't talk about question.
That. I think we will just decide. And then we'll put it on Instagram. So if you're not on Instagram, get on Instagram, and then you can figure out what we should have next week.
Gotta do that. Well, Cole,
but
you know what?
One of the things we were talking about, you had the Kentucky Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit, but I don't know what to put that against.
Kentucky Spirit. Well, you know what? Surprise, surprise. Tuesday's here, dears, and Cole's gonna put something up with Kentucky Spirit.
We'll put something up.
He'll do that. And you know what, Cole? I hope you find the perfect whiskey to go against Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit.
And I hope that you get to visit Virginia.
And I hope I go to Mexico instead. No, I do hope I get to visit Kentucky. But more importantly, folks, I hope our love of spirits lifted yours.
Nice, what you eat? A pasta stick.